too many people, especially Christians, have some serious misunderstandings when it comes to authority. In particular, they miss the boat on the delegation of authority and how that works. Often this problem starts with leadership of the church, whether it's the pastor, preacher, priest, whatever. Far too many are controlling and afraid to delegate authority and empower other leaders in their congregations to lead. And when the leadership doesn't model delegation of authority, is it any wonder that those of us who follow that leadership don't get it? When authority is delegated, the person who has been empowered operates in the name of the person who has the authority. The delegated person acts as if they were the senior person to the limits of the authority delegated to them. And obviously, because they can only operate inside the limits of that delegated authority, it means they can't just do whatever they want. Exceeding their authority is something that would have to be dealt with by the one doing the delegation. I saw this back when I was a naval officer, which may be why I relate to the centurion in the Gospels. Our squadron's commanding officer, the CO, delegated his authority to me for my specific areas of responsibility, just as we were both commissioned by the President of the United States with a tiny slice of his authority. And here's the thing, if I had screwed up, my CO would have had to answer for it. That's because there's a difference between authority and accountability. The captain of a ship is responsible for everything that happens on his ship, even the things he doesn't have direct control over. It doesn't matter if the captain wasn't on the bridge when his ship ran aground. He's still responsible and will be held accountable. Even though you can delegate your authority, you still retain your accountability. Authority is not the same thing as power either. Power backs up authority. When a police officer knocks on your door and says, "Open up in the name of the law," he may have a gun, but that's not really the source of the power he represents. The real power is found in the law and the whole system of courts and enforcement and penalties that stand behind the officer and his badge. The power is behind the officer. The officer represents that power in the authority which has been delegated to him, but he doesn't have all that power in and of himself. Power is what gives authority meaning and relevance. Unlike authority, power cannot be delegated. However, it can be shared, channeled, or entrusted to others. For example, my dropping bombs from the planes I flew in didn't in any way diminish the power of the United States of America. It wasn't my power that I released. It still belonged to the U.S. government. So how does all that relate to God and us? Well, God created man, and when he did it, he put man in charge of the earth. God delegated his divine authority over the earth to Adam and Eve. Then God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and govern it, reign over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky and all the animals that scurry along the ground." Satan saw what God did there and wanted that authority for himself. So he tricked Adam and Eve into abdicating their delegated authority to him. Then along came Jesus, who took that authority back through his sinless life, death on the cross, and resurrection. Jesus then delegated that authority to the church. And as believers, you and I now have that authority delegated to us. Satan is defeated. He no longer has any authority at all. All he can do is deceive mankind into believing that he still does have authority. And power too, if he can manage that deception as well. This doesn't diminish God's power or authority in any way. The authority is still God's. He has chosen to delegate it through Jesus to his church. The power is also still God's. Likewise, he's chosen to exercise that power through us, the followers of Jesus, as his church. However, because God always operates in love, he'll never violate our free will. If we choose not to acknowledge the authority which has been delegated to us, then we seriously limit the flow of God's power through us. And that's where things get all jumbled up for so many people. Since we believers generally are not operating in the authority that God delegated to us, God is therefore not channeling his power through us. God won't force himself on us because he's not some kind of spiritual rapist. The choice is ours. Will we exercise the authority that has been delegated to us, or won't we? By choosing not to exercise the authority that Jesus has entrusted to us, we are effectively behaving just like Adam, who abdicated his authority to Satan.